or makes us live in the uncertainty of the future. And one way to sort of mitigate that is to be present. What up, Search fam? Sharde here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you are doing well and, hanging in the midst of the holiday season. The holidays can be a really challenging time of year for a lot of us because, if you've dealt with loss, grief, holidays exaggerate the absence of our loved ones, but also dealing with what's called winter blues or seasonal depression. Now, if you are not familiar with the term, seasonal depression is a physiological experience where you have more depressive episodes because of what the winter means. It's shorter days, less sunlight, all of those things, and those sort of begin to negatively impact our overall physical and emotional well-being. I personally suffer from seasonal depression. Actually, if we're honest, I suffer from, getting the blues anytime I go too many days without seeing the sun. And I often blame that on the fact that I am Floridian born and raised. Like, my body is like a plant. If I don't see the sun, I'm gonna get wilty. And this is to the point that my mother a couple of years ago bought me a sun lamp because I was also in grad school. And if you know anything about being in college, we don't get outside that much, especially the farther in you go. The higher the degree, the less you go outside, really. And because of that, I would have these more regular bouts of depression than I would like. Now, I want to try to equip you with some of the things that I do to help to combat my seasonal depression because, and this is with me living in Houston where it is not get that cold, but I will say that Houston does get gray a lot of days, and it sometimes makes me really think about that when I lived back in the UK, and I loved living in the UK, but baby, it was gray and rainy a lot. And that is definitely a bummer sometimes. So my first thing is to reflect on good memories, and this is specifically in terms of dealing with seasonal depression that is tied to the holidays in specific. And my family is not a big Thanksgiving family. We never were. Like, we had Thanksgiving, but we did not get as excited about it as we did for Christmas. However, I spent a lot of time, a lot of years in the kitchen during the holiday season, cooking with my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-aunts. So not being at home, and in light of the passing of the elders in my family, I do feel a great sense of loss around the holiday season, but I sort of recapture that with the sort of ritual of being in the kitchen. So this past Thanksgiving in particular, I found myself as I was cooking, and I did not cook a full spread because it's just me and the man. Like, it wasn't a whole bunch of us, but being in the kitchen and just like putting the music on, going through and cooking my family's recipes, the whole time I was having memories, positive memories of being at home, being with my loved ones, how it felt to be with them, and that sort of helped to make my heart feel fuller in the midst of me not being home with my mom, and the fact that the women in my family that I loved and learned from are no longer here. And so I will say, if you can take time and are in a headspace, because sometimes it's not possible for us to remember good times and have good memories without feeling a deep gut-wrenching sorrow attached to it. So this is sort of contingent on how you feel when you bring up those sorts of memories. But I will say, being able to reflect on memories of times past and do so with love and with happiness can be real food for the soul in the midst of, feeling a little bit down and out of sorts due to one's seasonal depression. The next thing would be to Go outside, get some sun, and get some fresh air. Again, because especially if you live in places where it does get cold and you have like legitimate winter and snow and all the things, my condolences, because I'm not built for the snow personally. Like, I'm really not built for the cold at all. But if you can, on days where the sun is out, please go outside, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. Get some fresh air, take a little walk around the block, put your hand on a tree, and if it's snowing, put your hand around the tree still. But being outside can really go a long way, again, because our bodies need vitamin D, and we spend so much more time on the inside now, especially in light of the pandemic, that there are a lot of us who are vitamin D deficient. And so getting outside and getting some sun is super important, and the fresh air really does do wonders for your mental health. I'm not even going to lie. In sort of conjunction with that point, you also might want to look into a vitamin D supplement. It's funny, I was talking to one of my students when I was substitute teaching at a private school. He was in 8th grade, one of my absolute favorite kiddos. So smart, so smart. And he was the one that told me that I should think about getting a vitamin D supplement. He's like, yeah, because I tend to feel down. Went to my doctor and they said that maybe I should get a vitamin D supplement, and I noticed that my overall mental health was better because I started taking a vitamin D supplement. And he was right. So I do take a vitamin D supplement now, but even still, after my dissertation, she was all messed up and still had to take an extra intense dose of vitamin D. So I would also say that if you are not getting the nutrients that you need, see about adding supplements in addition to eating well, and trying to get yourself outside, get some fresh air, take some time to be present. 5 minutes on the outside, I promise, will make more difference than you realize. The next thing is to lean into cozy season, and I've said that in my fall reset video, is that things slow down. The world, like our part of the world, is going into sort of hibernation for the winter months. So crops are slowing. Like I said, the days are shorter because of, daylight savings and all of that. It's a good time to sort of take care of yourself and slow down. Get in your comfy loungewear or pajamas, get your favorite blanket, get some tea, get some hot chocolate, enjoy a good show, read in bed and binge watching something new. And that's okay. It's about taking time and trying maybe not to rub up against the fact that you're not moving as fast as you would like to. Have more cozy foods. Do the things and to take care of yourself and give yourself space to slow down like the world is slowing down, not in terms of society, but in terms of like the actual earth itself. One of the things that I find super helpful for myself when I'm feeling seasonal depression is therapy, self-therapy. And by that, I mean color therapy and aromatherapy. I have 2 diffusers in my apartment, one in my bedroom, one in the living room, and I have found it extremely valuable to use smells to improve my mood. I made up a sort of fall-ish scent combination that had like bergamot and orange, but it had cinnamon, so it was cozy but also bright. And I noticed when I inhale citrus and things like that, I feel so much more joyful. So incorporating aromatherapy into your day-to-day is a great way to trigger the brain into more happier times. So if you're using like lemon, other citrus fruits, things that just have a bright scent to them, they can help trigger the brain to be more happy, because smells trigger memories and things like that. Or maybe it's the beach, like if you get something that smells like the sea and it just makes your heart happy. So whatever triggers good memories scent wise, help it boost your mood, I would suggest doing that. Also, colors. You can throw on, like, don't get me wrong, I am a neutral girl. I love black. I wear a lot of black, wear a lot of neutrals. But there is a utility in adding color to your wardrobe to help to boost your mood. And I know for me, part of it is sometimes indulging my inner child by, wearing something extremely bright, putting my hair in space buns, and being about my business. And if I don't feel like doing it in my actual wardrobe, I'll do it with my nails. So like right now my nails are green, like a really pale green. It's time to get them done. But I will paint my nails like bright orange or lime green or something. And when you look down and you're like, oh, okay. And it's just a little, again, mental trigger to go, okay, this makes me happy. So adding color to your wardrobe in some sort of way can help boost your mood in the midst of the sort of shorter days and more darkness that is happening. The other way that I approach color therapy is actually coloring. So I have a number of coloring books. I have some lovely black girl coloring books that I've gotten from Addie Rar and Pink Lo Mein that I sit down and color 20 minutes. And these are simple coloring books. Now, I know people get the mandalas and all that. Me personally, that stresses me out. It triggers my anxiety. So I usually use children's coloring books or my black girl coloring books, and allows me to finish something within a 20-minute period. And I can sit, I either color my feelings or you just color something in extremely bright, wild colors. And then I also will jot a note to myself, like a sentence or two on how I was feeling after I've finished my picture. And I find that that helps because, one, it helps me to be present, because a lot of times what happens when depression is triggered, it makes us live in the past or it makes us live in the uncertainty of the future. And one way to sort of mitigate that is to be present. And so that allows me to be present, focus on one task, a task that I can complete, and then in those 20 minutes, it does help lift my spirits some. So coloring, especially coloring something nostalgic. I love the Rugrats, and I have always owned a Rugrats coloring book since I was a child. I still own a Rugrats coloring book to this day, and sometimes having something just, a little whimsical to focus on is just, it's gonna help, I promise. My best friend and I are each other's emotional support person because we both deal with anxiety with a side of depression, but she also has ADHD and I don't have ADHD, so I can sit still and help work through things while also following the ADHD tangents. And so it has become really helpful for me when I am feeling depressed. If I can bring myself to do it, that's always going to be the linchpin. If I can bring myself to do it, is to phone a friend and to talk to someone, whether it is a friend, a trusted family member, a trusted mentor, or a licensed mental health professional, to talk through where you are in a given moment. Even if you do not have an actual therapist, you can use things like BetterHelp, or there are just a number of resources to help you find someone to talk to. I can't tell you how important it has been for me to have safe spaces to actually verbalize and vocalize what I'm feeling. And like I said, my best friends and I are emotional support people for one another because, she deals with anxiety and depression like I do. So I can be like, hey, I'm not okay. And she can approach me with careful, measured love and say, well, what do you need? What are you feeling? Do you want to talk about it, or you just wanted me to know? And that has become really important, to be seen, to have somebody acknowledge that you are where you are. The last thing is very sort of almost cliche in a sense, but go with me. Have a spa day at home. I know it sounds so buzzword self-care things, but go with me. You all know my skincare routine has become part of my wellness practice because, again, it helps me to slow down, to concentrate on myself, and to be present for 10 to 15 minutes. But by elongating that to maybe 30, 40 minutes, and maybe doing an extra clay mask and a sheet mask, putting a few extra steps in the routine, perhaps taking one of my detox baths or painting my nails and sitting still, what that does is, in the pampering of myself, it's doing the thing that I need to do to care for myself, because frequently I saw this TikTok that was like, whatever your love language is also the way in which you punish yourself when you're not being kind to yourself. And so for me, that is, quality time and acts of service. Making sure I extend that sort of care to myself by taking the time for myself, doing something kind for myself, that helps me to feel a little bit more at home in my body, because depression for me is not just like feeling sad, but it's also sometimes feeling displaced in my body, like I don't belong here, and sort of not wanting to do things, but also not feeling like I want to be here. So by taking that extra intention to care for myself, what I find is that I can settle down in myself a little bit better and feel just a little bit more at ease. So I think about it in terms of not just, oh, I'm going to take a bubble bath, but it's like, what, girl, have you washed your face in 3 days? Have you combed your hair? When was the last time you moisturized? Are you hydrating? Maybe you should do that. Get some tea, put some water, go do your face. Like, really do your face, because you look crusty. Like, these are the conversations that I have with myself. It's like, we don't want to look crusty. So we going to make sure that we look like a glazed donut when we're done. And then you can at least be like, well, at least I moisturized. And that feels nice. And I know I'm making light of it in that way, but that's what has worked for me when I can bring myself to do it. I hope that you find this helpful, that maybe you got a laugh out of it and maybe raised your spirits. I know that the holidays can be a really tough time. The winter can be a really tough time for many of us, but if you can be equipped with a few tools to help you to be well in the midst of it, your quality of life will improve. I love you. I hope you continue to work. If there are things that you do to combat seasonal depression, let us know, because I would love to see other people's approaches to taking care of themselves. As always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend about the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.